Let's not only talk about the problems. It's easy to talk about the problems. Easy to say, no, you can't do this. I'm talking about for all the football fans now. I know a lot of football fans who were totally against it. So it's easy to say, no, we don't want this. The question is, what can we do? What can we do? What is the alternative? What is the solution? What is the solution for this?
So looking at the ESL generally, was it a bad idea? Of course, I don't think it was a bad idea. I just think it was a bad implementation, basically. So we've mentioned a couple, but I'll try to draw them together and try to put them in perspective so we can actually see how it can happen, or if in the future some people come together and want to perpetrate a coup of this nature yet again, then we can give them strategies they need. So basically, I think for starters, Florentino Perez did a good one by ensuring the founding club signed a contract that ensured that if they were to leave, we're actually going to pay a certain fee, and I think that's a great one for them. So on that level, I think ESL could still happen, even though realistically, I don't think it will. It's just that in terms of facts and paper we have on ground, that can still happen. But now looking at how they could have approached this differently, we already identified one of the major pitfalls, which was not identifying stakeholders or engaging them as they should have and understanding what their interests were. Felix, the Green Lantern, already mentioned a couple.
See, it's going to speak. No, guys, like, see, that's the great you come out. Felix, you can't even green again. Go on.
So yeah, he mentioned a couple of stakeholders or different parties and their interests, their selfish interests, as it usually is. And one thing we can look at, let's start at looking at the different stakeholders. So the fans, basically. They want these clubs to sign the best players. They want them to pay these players huge amount of signing on bonuses, those exchange fees that are actually ridiculous, astronomical at this point. And then the players' wages are actually really high, but they don't consider anything that happens at the club. Now, one thing that got fans against the ESL was the fact that it was killing what they've known as football for so long. The fact that football is a competition that actually has a pyramid structure, that you play, you compete at the lowest levels and strive to attain the next level, the next big thing, the next league above you. You try to move, and when that happens, it's actually a very good story. Like Paul mentioned, the Leicester City story, coming from the lower division and coming to win the Premier League. It wasn't easy. It was something that the world saw and the world relates with. Now, one thing I feel ESL should have done is actually considered how they could implement some sort of pyramid structure that embodies the substance
of football.
Exactly.
As we know it.
It's not just business that we have to do. We have to understand the game. Like I was telling our friend Ty the other day, that when you start a business, of course you start a business to make money. But at the point you're starting the business, you're selling something of value. You're giving something in exchange. It's not a product, a service, in exchange for value. So you have to understand what that product is, how that product is, how the market perceives that product or service.
Do you think this is a projection of what we've put here in our early years at Access Together, that customer is always right?
It's actually boils down back to that, because you can't be selling a product to a customer and forcing him to take what you're serving. Like you have to ask them, the customer, what do you want? The fans, what is football to you? How would we put this competition together that would appeal to you? And I'm sure if they had a pyramid kind of structure on ground, we would have noticed that the backlash from fans would have been less. But it didn't stop there. So you have players that will be going on in this competition and coaches, and for some reason there was no communication. You could have restricted the communication to the coaches. You could have restricted it to the coaches and the captain. For someone in that dressing room that is involved in actually delivering this service, like the MD would not just come up and say, okay, now we're going to start producing petrol. You don't have the plant, you don't have anything.
Your chief operation officer doesn't even know what's going on.
Do you understand? They don't understand that business and you just want that to happen. No, you have to carry them along, if not everybody, the principal officers, so that these people can then communicate their feelings or what they want. And that way you can then meet or come to a compromise of some sort. And the backlash also from coaches. I've not seen any coach that came out and said, we want the ESL. I've not seen any player that came out and said, the ESL is a great idea. Why do you think this happened? It's simply because they were not carried along and it wasn't sold to them in a manner that was appealing. So there are a few other stakeholders when we look at UEFA. I consider them competition, not really shareholders, the stakeholders in this case, because you're trying to go against them head to head. So even in competition, you have to understand what strengths they have over you, what position they can take that would adversely affect you. But I don't think all of this was considered. And one major tool that could have helped ESL blossom, basically, like, it would have flourished in the action, is the power of social media. So you come out, you make a public announcement. You just come out and say, we want to change football forever. Have you seen how reports we've had about how Trump had Russian data experts manipulate people into electing him? I don't know if that happened, I can't really say, but that's what we have, that's the news we have around. So social media is powerful. With the power of data, you can actually sell that story. Imagine a club, or rather the ESL, coming out and pushing this agenda. Just listen to how it sounds. So today, we are going to change the face of football forever. For you, the fans, the players, to see those matches that you always want to see every day.
Wait, can I just suggest that whenever they decide to do this,
You should be the announcer guy. I was
saying to you, I was like, yes, take my money, yes.
So it's about selling it with the right media publication, just releasing it slow and steady, gauging the engagements on social media, seeing people's perspectives or position based on what you've pushed out.
Guys, do you know how brilliant what Church is doing for us now? If you're listening and you're actually like a business person or anything, it's so important for you to listen to this as regards the importance of stakeholder engagement. Because what he's just telling you now, that first thing, if you just put the idea in the mind of the fans first, let's see what would happen. But yeah, go on.
So it's one thing. So I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he's also a risk analyst, and he was like, he laughed a lot when we were discussing this particular point, because you cannot come out and just want to change something without having, you just push it out there. Either you use social media influencers, you speak, go for interviews and just say one or two things about it. Drop the idea down, see how people perceive it. Then from there you can build on it and also tweak your engagement. Before you know it, when you drop the news, people are like, well, it sounds like a very good thing. It's not that bad after all. And then they're all on page and you don't get this backlash. It's the backlash that caused the
retreat.
Exactly.
I don't think they predicted power of backlash.
They thought it was just that bad.
This is
The
the
PR was a disaster.
This is the first time, and I can tell you for that the PR did not know about this as well. That's why it was a disaster. Now this is the first time that money is into it. This is the first time. Because money always wins.
Yeah.
We chose vibes over 400 million.
When you think of it logically, like why exactly would I choose not to get money?
Do you understand?
Like,
And entertaining football every
do you
time.
understand?
On paper, it
Like-
looks smooth.
Like what Felix has been saying,
They
like
package you up.
They did package.
Jadon Sancho 120 million in a pandemic.
Change.
like the fans, they're actually really selfish and they don't want the business owners to be. But the business owners have to understand that their business was built for the fans. Exactly, and they fund your business, so you cannot go against them.
Imagine
Like
having
Bamiji
the
reminded-
ESL and no fans.
Then
it fails.
you waste of.
Like Bamiji reminded us, customer is always right. Customer is always
Yeah,
right.
that's the
I'll-
deal.
So that's customers they have to go to.
No,
Will
normal,
you go
but
against-
you
will you
can't
go
tell
against
you
your
can't tell
customer?
them they are.
They're wrong. Will you go against your customer?
Yeah,
Your
look
customers
me,
will-
look me in my
I'm not looking in your eye.
Look me in my
I'm not
eye.
looking in your eye. I'm not looking in your eye.
No problem.
So I think that's where these are areas they could have actually worked on better and it would have been a different story altogether.